Peace and blessings, family. This is Brother Mike X. Welcome to another clip from my YouTube channel, BruthaMikeXSpeaks. A few days ago, I posted a clip on my YouTube channel called "You Are Free." And this clip is going to be a part 2, an extension of that clip. You know, before I start talking, really going into it, I just want to thank, the Almighty, Almighty God, the creator of heaven and earth, the creator of truth and all things, in this universe, for allowing me to live long enough to come into the awareness is, if that's a word, and if it's not, I'm claiming it, that I'm coming into, particularly in regards to personal freedom. We are free, like I said in the last clip, from the day that we were born to the day that we die, we will continue to be free. And some people hearing that will say, what do you mean free? With all of the hatred and bigotry and prejudice and economic systems and political systems and peer pressures and all of the, arrangements on this planet that impede people from being able to grow and develop the way they want to develop. How could you say that you are free? Well, the fact remains, even with all of those impediments, distractions, you are free. We are free, to choose how we're going to live our lives and to what we're going to submit to. We can choose to live lives of ignorance and mediocrity, or we can choose to live lives of uplift and progress, no matter what's going on around us. Like I said in the last clip, even during the times of slavery, there was still freedom, and even in these times, there's freedom. Because there are people who want to control the world and who want to control the movement, in the world, the physical movements of human beings, who want to control, commerce and power and wealth and how it's distributed and who's going to have it and who's not, those are real impediments. But still, even in that, you still have the power to choose to go along, to get along, or to rebel and do what you need to do to carve out a life of freedom for yourself and others, for the best of yourself and others. Like I mentioned in the last clip, Nat Turner said, nah, I'm not going for it. He knew what the penalty was. He knew what the repercussions was of rebelling against the system of slavery. And he said, I'd rather risk those repercussions than to go along to get along. So he stood up and led a rebellion, against the slave system. And he paid for, that decision, but he still was a free man, as he went on to meet his maker. So I say to you, family, and I say to myself, each one of us, come into the realization that we are free. We have the opportunity to step into that freedom. And there's some fear. It's definitely easier a lot of times to go along and get along. When you decide and know that you are free to live the type of life that you want for the best of yourself and others, especially in a world where there are cliques and clans and groups of power interests that want to keep things the way they are so that they could benefit first and foremost. Utilizing the fear, utilizing the labor, utilizing the lives of other people for their selfish motives. There are people who will oppose you and try to stop you and try to convince you from living a life of freedom, and they'll offer you different perks and things like that just for you to chill out, and keep your mouth shut, and get low, and just fall in line, but it still rests at the end of the day for you to use your freedom, to use your power of choice, to use your free will, to consent to that. And so today, I see the sun shining. As you can see, the sun shining on my face. There was a point in time, where I was fearful of living in freedom. Even after becoming a conscious-minded, aware black man, I was still a lot of times afraid. I wanted to walk in the midst of a crowd. I wanted to walk, in the midst of a collective of awakened and aware black people, who we all was on the same wavelength and had the same vision. And, together we was going to go march to take what is ours, the right to control our lives and to control the community that we live in and all of the things that exist in it, the politics, the economics, the education, everything, under our control. And what I met up with is that everybody does not have that personal point of view. You know what I mean? And because everybody doesn't have that personal point of view, it made it nearly impossible for us, to walk collectively, as a unit, as an organization of people, to practice that type of lifestyle. And that fear that I had, even though I had already stood up and stood out in my community and, publicly, and vociferously, and had already begun speaking truth to power. A lot of times I was still focused on, the ignorance of the people and their lack of willingness of wanting to step out and step up on their own behalf. A lot of times I was still focused on talking about the people, the power interests that seek to control our lives from the moment we are born to the day that we die, and because I was focused on either the ignorance and the mediocrity of the people and their lack of willingness to step up and step out, or I was focused on the power interests and how they seek to control us and convince us, to keep low and to stay put. Those two opposites that I was focused on stopped me from really focusing on myself and striving to build up in myself a degree of courage, a degree of just passion, to where I would just step out and say, yo, man, like Nat Turner, like Malcolm, like Martin, like Adam Clayton Powell, like Harriet Tubman, like Sojourner Truth, like Frederick Douglass, like these bold black men and women that, I'm not going for it. I know that I'm free, and I know that there's a price. I know that there's a repercussion. I know that there may be a penalty, if I step out by myself. But I'm not just going to get low and go along to get along just because there's not enough of us, who wants to take this trip, who wants to take this journey. So I just say, family, let us stop existing in slavery. Let us stop existing and striving to go along to get along. Let us stop existing on certain levels, of situations, whether it's in the job, whether it's in a personal relationship with friends and neighbors or coworkers or family or others. Let us stop allowing ourselves to be enslaved. This awareness that I'm stepping into, I see it playing out, all over the place, along the lines that I just mentioned, in the job place, and how some people, they find value for your life in the direct measure of, slavery, or that you're allowing to take prominence in your life, like in the job place. A lot of times we find ourselves in jobs that we don't like, in situations that we're not comfortable with. And you'll have different levels of people. You'll have people that's like, yo, this is not good enough for me. I want more out of my life. And they just leave. You know, they just bounce. They're just on to brighter and bigger things. And then you have other people who they want to leave too, but they can never muster enough courage to actually do it. So they'll be walking around, you know, a lot of times bitter, you know, angry. You can see it on their face. You can see it in their body language. You know what I mean? They're there, but they're mad that they're there. And because, you know, they're not courageous enough at that particular point in time to do what they need to do on an individual level, you know, all types of time gets wasted, man. You know what I mean? It could be weeks, it could be months, it could be years. You know what I mean? But until that person becomes strong enough to say, yo, let me, you know, move on and move upwards, they'll just be there, you know? And then you have another group that, you know, they don't see anything better for themselves or brighter for themselves, and they're just cool being there, and they'll just stay there. And what they do is, because that's all that they see for themselves, you know, they'll strive to selfishly dominate and control the atmosphere, you know, in that place. And it's not even necessarily that they like being there, but it's just that they've already resigned themselves to not being able to get any better for themselves. So what they're going to do is they're going to strive to create a pecking order, you know what I mean, with themselves at the top. And as long as other people in that environment submit to them and their control over that limited environment, they're cool, you know what I mean? But the ones who don't want to submit to that pecking order, those people are dangerous. You know, I don't like that person, you know, only because that person is practicing a level of freedom that group, that clique, that clan looks upon as a threat to their hegemony, to their control over that particular, you know, atmosphere. You know what I mean? So, I mean, this thing is so deep, and I hope that you who are looking at this clip, I hope that you can understand, you know, the points that I'm striving to make. You know, top most on the list is you are free. You are free to begin to break free of those types of arrangements. Yeah, there may be a penalty. Yeah, there may be a repercussion. But at the same point, you know, there's also a reward that there might be out there for you to claim. You know, you deciding that you're going to live a better and brighter life can be of benefit not just to yourself, but to other people who are languishing under situations and conditions that we were not meant to languish under as children of God, of the Almighty. And all it takes a lot of times is for at least one person to lay claim to that freedom and to exercise that freedom in their own lives, that personal freedom, and to begin to walk forth and strongly to show other people that it can be done. And then you have other people seeing that it could be done, you know, through the practice of a bold and courageous individual, you know, seeing it done. That will help them to see that maybe there's another option. You know, I don't have to be enslaved. You know what I mean? In any situation, in any position, you know, that is not best for me. You know what I mean? So this is what we need. You know, this is what we need, you know. And when you know, and this is the other thing to it. If you see other people who are cool with being on those lower levels, you know, break yourself out of the temptation to stand there in judgment of them. If that's what they want for themselves, or because of their conditioning, if they can't see anything better for themselves, the only way they'll ever see it is if you practice it. You know, they're waiting for you to step up and to step out. You know, so stop focusing on them. Stop focusing on the power interests. Step out boldly and live a life of freedom, family. And as you do that, and other people seeing you do that, you help them to understand that they can do the same thing. So, you know, peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, family. Let's go get it. Let's go get it.